Skull, and welcome back to Valkyrie's Art Corner. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell for notification when my new videos are to come out. Today we're going to work on part 2. I know I said it was only going to be 2, but it's going to possibly be 3 because I forgot about all the details and everything like that you're going to have to add into it. And you're going to start off by drawing with this charcoal pencil, and you can erase it with that. On the paint, when it's dry, you can actually draw on it and erase just like a normal piece of paper. So we're going to start off by drawing Ethan's head right here, and this is going to help you kind of decide where everything's going to go. So you draw the circle, and then I'll end up drawing the directional line right here for where his head's tilted, and then his eye line, so that way we can better tell where that's going to be. And then his neck and close over here, and then yeah, that's his shoulders. So this is kind of just drawing a basic layout of where everything's going to be, and this is what's going to be in the foreground and everything's in the background. So that line right there is for his double chin, because he always does this really weird pull his neck back kind of thing, and he looks really goofy. So now what I'm going to do is, since his shirt is gray and his hair is black, I'm going to mix white and black together to make that gray color that's needed on that. So I'm going to put that over here and mix it. So that way I can get started on the basic colors. Now when you start to paint and everything like that, it's going to be solid blocky colors to begin with. Once you add details in later, that's when it'll start coming together. So when you start painting and everything like that, don't get discouraged. And that was my white wax pencil. It helps highlight where I need to draw on the darker colors where I cannot see the charcoal pencil. So I can just kind of get a general idea of where everything's at. But like I said, don't get discouraged when you see it blocky and started to begin with. It's going to look like crap at the beginning. So once you add in all those details after the paint's dry and everything like that, it's going to look a whole lot better. So don't get discouraged halfway through thinking, oh, it's going to look stupid. So alright, we're going to draw the outline of his head. So as you can tell, the white is actually standing out a whole lot better than the charcoal pencil. Sometimes that happens. On lighter paintings, I tend to use just the charcoal pencil because you can see it because it writes out just like regular pencil. So, and I'm just drawing the outline of his ear and kind of where his hair would go and everything like that. Kind of doodle in where the hairline is. So it's not going to be perfect in the pre-drawing form. It's going to look kind of silly, but like I said, that's just how it looks when you start it. And then trace the outline, so that way when I get my actual skin tone color going in, I can actually know where I'm going with that, and then the separation between his shirt and his skin. Okay, I'm just going to finish drawing this here, and that's the collar of his shirt. And then also, after I'm done doing Ethan's painting, I probably will do Ela's painting. Hers will turn out a lot better because she's a lot prettier than Ethan. And then that's his curly hair. So we just kind of want to get a general idea. It may not exactly be exactly where everything's at, but it's just kind of getting the basis of where the outline needs to be. Okay, so I'm going to put that off to the side here. And now what we're going to start doing is actually blocking in the colors. Using like a small rounded paintbrush. We don't want to use a too big of a paintbrush because otherwise it will make everything kind of go out of the lines a little bit. So I'm going to just take the gray color right here and start to paint in where his shirt would be. And this is just a basic undertone for it, so that way you can always add your darker tones and your lighter tones to it, but this is just the base tone to get you started where you need to go. And then we're just going to paint the whole area where we blocked off for his shirt the exact same color. And doing portraits, in my opinion, I had troubles with them when I was younger because I would always draw animals or, you know, just sceneries from like outside and everything like that. So it's probably been within the last 6 to 7 years that I've started doing portraits. They're still not perfect, but they're getting there, and I'm still learning how to do different techniques, so I'm always studying. So I highly recommend that's exactly what you do when it comes to that. So just never stop learning when it comes to art. My grandpa, he was pretty good at portraits. His thing was just cartoon characters, because like I said in my very first video, he worked for Disney. Cartoon characters and landscapes. So when I was learning with him, that's what he taught me. So I kind of had to teach myself how to do portraits and everything like that. So just pretty much independent learning. And we're going to finish in the gray out here. And the reason why we're just doing the solid colors first is so when we add like the skin tone and the hair tone, if the paint manages to cross over to the other one, it doesn't matter too much because you'll be adding your highlights and shadows in later, and you can always go back and cover those up. So the base is, like I said, just trying to figure out where everything goes. And yeah, and you can use this technique to apply to, like, even if you do like cartoon characters or anime characters, you can use the same technique as doing like a realistic portrait with cartoons. And frankly, I think cartooning is easier than trying to do a real person because there's a lot of colors. You have to worry about the cool colors, and you have to worry about matching the skin tone, because believe it or not, in skin tones you need red, blue, brown, white, and pink to make the skin tones how you need. So sometimes when you go to shade in skin tones, you have to add more blue into it to give it a darker tone, or you have to even sometimes yellow to make it lighter. But you have to be really careful because sometimes that can, if you do have blue in your skin tone, it will turn it slightly green, and you don't want that. So that's where you would kind of like yellow white, so it makes it to where it prevents it turning green. And that's exactly what I did here with the skin tone. I have kind of like my pinkish gray, but if you look at your skin, depending on what your skin tone is, it's not exactly pink if you're lighter skin. It's more of like a pale color, kind of like gray, and depending the light you're in, you'll see more reds, but it's just pretty much that's what I'm doing here, is just kind of adjusting it to how the picture is. And just covering everything in where his skin would show up through it, and just pretty much fill in the gaps. But before you get into details, you need to do these blocking pieces first, because if you try to do detail while you're blocking, you're going to lose your detail, and then you're pretty much going to have to cover it up and start over on the details, and you don't want to waste your paint like that. So I'm going to fill in his entire face and his ears, and then we will move on to his head to draw where his hair is going to be. And you can just draw, it doesn't have to be a whole lot of hair. You could just paint in the basic area where it's at, but you're going to be adding on to it, so you can make it as full or as thin as you want. But we're going to follow along to his picture. And it doesn't matter if like the hair comes into the face colors, or if the face colors goes into the hair. Like I said, you can always just go back and add on to it. When you start getting to the final image, that's when it really matters. And I got a little too much blue in that, so I'm going to add more white to it to cancel that out. And also there's a little bit of black in there to kind of give a slight gray hue to it, but you don't want too much of one because Ethan's really pale. And then we'll try to cover that up as much as we can without striping it too much. If you don't get it fully covered in, wait until it's dry and then add another layer onto it. Because if you try to do a portrait where it's wet on wet, some people can do it. I don't know how to do it properly just yet, like with oils or anything. So I have to wait until it dries and then put on another layer. And then hopefully by then it'll be sticky enough or dry enough to where I can actually start adding in details onto it. And as you'll see in the next video, exactly how to do that. And then just keep going until you're satisfied with the first layer. Again, you don't have to fully cover it the first layer, you just let it dry and then do it again. And round off his ear right here. As you can see, it's starting to come together. And then there's just a few spots I may try to do. I'm gonna leave it just as is so I don't oversaturate it and make it to where it has too thick of spots. So right now we're gonna now add on little wisps of hair so we can start planning out where the hair is going to go. And since Ethan has really curly hair, you'll kind of want to start the base off just kind of like swirling it out, but not like super swirly, just enough to where how you would see curly people's hair, where it's not necessarily like spirally, but it's just curly enough to where it makes it fluffy. And that's kind of what I'm doing there. And then down on his sideburn right here. And see, now I'm actually coming out onto the skin tone, which Ethan does have a little bit of gray in his hair, so it's not going to matter too much when I actually get into it. So that's actually going to make it a little bit easier to add on the extra tones. So I can make his, if I find out that his face is a little bit small, I can always erase some of that hair and make his head bigger. So that's the advantage of paintings, is that you can always go back over it once it's dry if something ends up not turning out right. So I'm just kind of putting little curls here, little bumps, making his hair textured, and just kind of doing little curls here and there. And as you can tell, it's starting to come together. So we got the 3 basic shapes down on it, completely covered. We got his hair, his face, and his shirt, which are the undertones for what we're going to be doing detail-wise. So we've got a really good start on it. So, and that is pretty much what I'm going to be doing for the second video. There will be a third video because I kind of laid the paint on thick, so I need to let that dry first before I even try to start adding in detail and everything like that. So yeah, there will be a third put in it, a third video for it, so look forward to that. But I have to let this dry first, and then I'll record another video. So thank you guys for watching, and this is the second installment of ETHAN KLEIN's kawaii photo. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.